am now. We'll have Chauncey speak in a little bit. I just wanted to see. I haven't seen him since he was like 8 years old. So that's what your dad just called. He might be calling in a little bit. Yeah, he said he was going to try to call, to get a phone out and call today, but I don't know. So I'm trying to keep my cell phone with me so I can hear it. I'm going to have Dia Conway come up and speak. Leonard had wanted her to come and speak because her dad dog hide. I don't know where she's like. Oh, there you go. Be nice. She's learning to step up and speak, and I'm really glad when I hear anybody who's coming up to speak and talk. That's a good thing.
My name is Dia Conway, and I'm a member of the Puyallup tribe. I am the oldest child of Charles Conway, also known as Doghides, who is also a member of AIM. I am honored to welcome you to our land, and thank you for your support. Give yourself a big hand. We did it. I'm also a member of the Leonard Peltier Defense Offense Committee, and growing up I was always told stories of the movement and of Wounded Knee and of Leonard Peltier and his wrongful imprisonment. I grew to appreciate members of AIM at a very influential age. My father always shared stories of the importance of keeping everything alive in our heritage. And as I work at my daycare, I grow to appreciate it more every day, from our traditional songs to our stories and our language and art. And I thank those who fought for us to have these things in our daily life. I thank you for coming and sharing your support and thinking of us, the younger generation. I will pass on your stories and practice our traditions. My father always spoke of the importance of all Indigenous peoples being able to carry on their traditions. And I thank you all for being here today.
That took a lot. Deep of a private person. That took a bit to have her come up, and I thank her for doing that. We're going to have an update on the clemency campaign from Arthur Miller from the Tacoma chapter of the Leonard Peltier Defense Offense Committee. I think he's getting used to the new names of who we are throughout the years. Just for Leonard. Arthur, where did you go? Maybe he's not going to. Okay, instead we'll have the keynote speaker, Ramona Bennett, come up. The keynote speaker, Ramona Bennett, tribal elder and activist, and before me.
They call me Marilyn. I told Sue, it seems really weird. The Aztec dancers have never failed to be here before, and Father Bixel is in prison right now, and there's Arthur. I got in front of you, Arthur. Some of the things I've noticed is these white people are so astounded by the force of Homeland Security. And we have been living with Homeland Security since, something like that. That's really close. We have suffered this martial law from the beginning. I'll take you back. We were not allowed to leave the reservations until World War I, when our people enlisted at statistically astounding rates to defend our mountains and defend our rivers. And before then, since then, to this day, we suffered that kind of effort to eradicate us. The governmental plan was to entirely rid themselves of the nuisance of Indians, and only the Civil War saved us from being totally wiped off our beautiful land. And so I want you to know that Leonard is a symbol. They don't want to let him loose because he is a symbol of us and our desire for freedom and our continuing fight for freedom. His trial was totally illegal, absolutely illegal. In any court that you'll ever go to, they always tell the victim's family, show no expression, show no emotion. At all of Leonard's trials, all of the families of the federal agents sat in the front row, soaking up Kleenex after Kleenex, being very emotional. No other court would have tolerated such a thing. Leonard is a symbol to us. You know, in Africa, which is supposedly the most racist nation in the world, Mandela was locked up for 28 years and came out to be president. Here in America, Leonard has been in prison, what, 31 years? 30? Yeah, a long, long time. Leonard has been locked up. Many moons, yes. And they can't let him out. We've had parole plan after parole plan, jobs, homes, supervision, everything that a parole plan should require. And they tore our papers up. They wiped their asses with our parole plan. They completely dismissed us and continued incarcerating Leonard, who he's our friend, he's our brother, he's not just a symbol. He's a really good guy, and he was a friend of ours. Angela, you even remember him. He's a nice man. And this was a war situation. This is a war situation. Puyallup was having to set up armed camps to protect our fishermen. We were traveling to Washington, D.C. and getting beat up and being faced with these ridiculous charges. This was a war zone. There were 63 murders on the Pine Ridge Reservation that year, and not one was investigated because it was all Indians that were being murdered. And they said there were, how many federal agents were on Pine Ridge Reservation? 170 federal agents were on that reservation. What in the hell for? It was just poor people struggling for some kind of equality in what continues to be a third world nation. I mean, this is a hard reservation to live on, even today. And back then it was scary. It was even worse. The elders were getting their doors kicked in, getting their things burned, being harassed. People were being killed right and left. And Leonard was, he was a car mechanic. He had a beautiful shop, 8 bays, 4 for auto body work and 4 for mechanics. He had the contract to do police department up Seattle's cars. I mean, he was a legitimate businessman with, like Chief Lesha, he had everything going for him. He was loved by the Indians, he was respected by the white people. But if you were an elder and your fan belt broke, he'd just drop everything, go buy you a fan belt, fix your car. You had a flat tire, they didn't have freeways back then, but, you know, he'd find a tire, find a wheel, get out there and rescue you. I mean, that's how he was, that's the kind of man he was, that's the kind of man he is. And when them elders back there at Pine Ridge said, we're scared, we need security, you know he dropped everything. He just dropped everything, his whole business, and went back there to stand guard, to protect the elders, because that's the kind of person he is. And we were shocked, you know, when he was arrested and was charged with these murders, because we don't think of him as a murderous person. He's a gentle guy. And then we realized why they grabbed him. Because he was an urban Indian, they figured nobody from the city would miss him, nobody from the reservation would miss him. They figured that he would be quickly forgotten, and they could charge him, which would satisfy everybody if some Indian got charged. And no one would know and no one would care. And what they didn't count on is how many friends he had, how many friends he had made, how many, just how many relatives he had. So, yeah, that too. So I'm really grateful and thankful that he isn't forgotten. He is a symbol. He is a symbol of suffering. He is a symbol of how unfair this system is to Indians. And all of you that have gotten DWIs, driving while Indian charges, you all know. You all know that the system is slanted against us. Always has been, back to 1492. It always is going to be. You know, live your lives in a good way. You know, really enjoy every moment of your miracles, because our ancestors, like Leonard, have suffered and died for our rights. You know, for these little opportunities that we have. You know, just treasure every day that you've got, because people have laid down their lives so that you could have that day. And I don't have to tell you, don't ever forget Leonard. We'll never forget Leonard, and we'll never forget how really cruel this system can be. I'm glad to see all of the coalitions that keep working together. Well, and the unions, and the radical women, and the Socialist Workers' Party, and the church councils too. You know, we really depend on those coalitions to keep us all going, and I really appreciate everyone, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Oh
sound guy turn it back on. Arthur Miller is going to give an update on the clemency. Also, at this time, there's people going around with cans. Okay, so taking it at me.
This is a new beginning for us. We need to create something that we've never did before, and that's overwhelming public support for Leonard for clemency. Last time, many of you I recognize have been a part of that struggle in the past for clemency when we tried to do it with Clinton. We were not able to get enough public support. We stressed other things like celebrities and politicians and things like that. And we got out organized by the FBI. The FBI was so concerned about Leonard Peltier getting clemency that they held a march and rally in front of the White House where 500 FBI agents called in sick that day and marched in front of the White House. Actually, our taxpayers' money paid for them that day, if you wonder where that stuff goes that you send in. Well, this time we're not going to sit back and think the Navy will get it. The Navy, the President, is kind-hearted or something. This time we need to mobilize and create overwhelming support. Let there be no question in this land and internationally that the people demand Leonard Peltier be free. You hear in the media and whatnot, they talk about American interests. American interest to go to war in some foreign country that most of us don't know anything about, and we don't know why we're fighting there. U.S. interest in supporting dictators and everything around the world. All these things are U.S. interests. And it was U.S. interest that put Leonard Peltier in prison. Well, the thing that we need to change in this country is that there's more to America, to this land, than just the power elites and the politicians. That the real American interest is the people and the land. And we need to make them understand that in our interest, Leonard needs to go free, and in our interest, we need to stop these things that the government does in our name, like imprison Leonard, kill people in foreign wars, lay off or get rid of the rights of public workers, and all these things that they say they do in our interest, which are not. What it comes down to is that since the beginning of this country, there have been these people that wanted land and wanted the things that they could get wealthy off those lands. Originally, they created reservations where ranchers didn't want the land or the farmers didn't want the land. They thought it was worthless. Then minerals came about. And all of a sudden, they found out that places like Pine Ridge or the Four Corners of Navajo and Hopi country and whatnot, there was money to be made. Well, they decided that it was their American U.S. interest to go in there and steal that land. In the same way that they invade foreign countries. There's no difference. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that Leonard's in prison because he stood up on the Pine Ridge Reservation against this. People have asked many times, well, what was on Pine Ridge, this reservation, this poorest place in the United States, to cause so much federal interest and so many federal agents and whatnot? Well, it was uranium. They had found uranium in the northwest corner of Pine Ridge. They knew that the traditional people would not sell that uranium to them because traditional people refused to take money for the Black Hills. So they came up with a plan to steal it. And the way to steal it, the first thing they had to do was suppress the traditional elders. So when they started doing that, they requested AIM to come in because all of a sudden they found that they were being harassed, being shot at, being intimidated. They were trying to wipe them out. So AIM came in, and thus Wounded Knee occurred. And then after Wounded Knee, it even got worse. All the murders that Ramona talked about, the villages that were shot up and everything, and in a 2.5-year period of time, the elders went back to AIM and said, we need protection. Could you come to Pine Ridge and protect us? Among the people that came to Pine Ridge was Northwest AIM. Most of the brothers and sisters at the encampment were Northwest AIM from here. So they came in to defend the people. So the government and the FBI knew that they had to do something to divert attention from getting that uranium. So they went in and caused a situation, an incident. What it comes down to is they use the excuse of looking for a young teenage boy who supposedly stole a pair of used cowboy boots in a teenage drunken fight. Okay, this is what we pay our FBI for. Not the 63 murders, but to chase down some native youth that supposedly stole a pair of boots. Well, that was their excuse. They took the 2 agents that came in were counterintelligence agents. They were FBI SWAT team agents. These were not run-of-the-mill FBI agents. So their superiors, and those are the people that were responsible for what happened, told them to go in. They said that they were following a red pickup truck out on the blacktop that supposedly this young teenage youth was riding in. Well, any logic would say that they would stop that truck out on the blacktop. Instead, they stood behind it onto the jumping pool compound where they knew that there was a AIM encampment. And then they pulled up into a defensive position of the car, got out with their guns, and a firefight occurred. Well, this was just the same way that the Goon Squad and others had terrorized the Pine Ridge Reservation with drive-by shootings. Of course the people there were going to defend the elders. That was their job. That's something that everybody here would do, and probably damn everybody in this country would. If it meant defending your family, your elders, you would do it, and that's what they did. Who's responsible for those deaths? It's the higher-ups, the FBI officials that sent them in that manner. Because they were not sent in any type of FBI procedures. As soon as the firefighting started, they didn't get in their cars and get back and call for reinforcements or anything. They wanted a situation. And the reason why they wanted it, because at the same time that was happening, a quarter of the Pine Ridge Reservation was being signed away illegally in Washington, D.C. for that uranium. And how do we know that was a setup? Because roadblocks were put up all over the area before the shootout. Before the shootout, the local hospitals were notified to expect casualties on that day. So something was going down. And it was the people that planned it that is responsible. Matter of fact, those are the people that should have been sitting in a prison cell since 1976, not Leonard.
Fine, okay.
The original 2 members of AIM that went on trial were found not guilty by reason of self-defense. They went on trial in a middle America, all-white, middle-class jury that just could not buy the FBI story. And found them not guilty for reason of self-defense because they understood if they were in that situation, they would have done the same damn thing. So they found Leonard up in Canada. They lied to the Canadian government to get him back by presenting false testimony to them. The woman that they got to sign that false testimony, when she finally got away from the FBI, went to the defense and said, can I testify for Leonard that they forced me to make these statements? And Leonard's defense tried to put her on, but the judge said, if you were to believe, you'd shock the conscience of the court and refuse to let her testify. Well, of course you'd shock the conscience of the court, if the court had any conscience at all. And that's what they wanted in Leonard's trial, was no conscience. They moved it from their original judge to a judge that refused Leonard to put on a defense, and ruled in every motion in favor of the prosecution. And Leonard was then convicted. Okay, after that, through the appeals, we were able to disprove every piece of evidence that they had against Leonard. For example, the ballistics report. They had a ballistics report of shell casings that supposedly proved that Leonard was down by the car. Well, through the Freedom of Information Act, we discovered through the documents they gave us that the ballistics reports were fabricated. All the witnesses that had not died in Leonard's case that they had forced to testify against Leonard came forward and stated that they were pressured into testifying against Leonard. If you see the movie Incident at Algala, you'll see Norman Brown in there. So what it got down to was that Leonard's defense disproved everything that they had against Leonard except for one thing, that he was there that day. So the prosecution finally said, well, we don't know who committed the murders, but Leonard was just there that day. He aided and abetted. Well, the first two brothers that were found not guilty for reason of self-defense, then you have to consider that Leonard's been in prison for all those years for an act of aiding and abetting, an act of self-defense. Even with that, we couldn't get Leonard a new trial. But the courts would come out like in 2003, a court came out and said, yes, the government fabricated evidence, intimidated witnesses, withheld evidence, but we're not going to rule in favor of you, Leonard. Another court said, yes, it's terrible, but you have to prove beyond a shadow of doubt that if this new evidence came out in a courtroom, that the jury would find you not guilty. Might find you not guilty, but would. Well, that's impossible to prove. Even if Leonard was on the moon at that time, we can't say for sure that a jury would find him not guilty. So now we're back to clemency again. They have denied his parole. One year, he went in front of a parole board that ruled in favor of Leonard. Then the parole commission stepped in, fired the parole officer, and changed the ruling and said, you got to wait for about 20 more years. So now we have to do clemency again. And the only way we can do it is if each and every one of you find somebody else to help you. We have these petitions going around. Somewhere we're going to be handing out copies of the petitions. Take as many as you can. Sign the petition, send them in. If you belong to any type of organization, get resolutions passed. And then when we come out again, try to get your other brothers and sisters to come out for you. I know Portland's going to be having an event in November. And come this February again, we stopped rallies here in 2007 after 14 years of them in February. But this coming February, we're going to be out here in Tacoma once again demanding clemency. And we'll keep this up internationally, everywhere, until Obama realizes that he has to free Leonard. There is no choice So need your help with the sign-up sheets to know who you are, to contact you with the petitions, the donations cans. As normal, we spent more on this rally than we ever had money for, and we have to make it up at donations here. If we get more than we pay back what we borrowed, then we can start on the clemency campaign. We're starting the next phase of the clemency campaign next week. We're not going to take a vacation, take a break, because Leonard doesn't have any vacation or break. I'm very happy to see all you here for the well-being of all. Thank you very much.
Around the country together, they kicked ass all from Alcatraz to Washington, D.C., and then came back into Wounded Knee. And, you know, throughout that time, like Chauncey said, our folks tried to keep us out of it a little bit, but, you know, at a point, there was a time when they couldn't keep us out of it, just because of the Cultural Revolution that was taking place back in the late 60s, because of the fight that was taking place here in our home over the fish. You know, back when it was the survival of Native Americans, or survival of American Indians, is what it started as. In Alcatraz, with people like Robert Free and Leonard and Steve Robidoux and Bobby Robidoux and Dino Butler and all these guys, you know, all these guys today, you know, some of them aren't with us today. And I was thinking, you know, what would they want me to say? Maybe say something good on their behalf, you know, on behalf of the many of our warriors that have gone on in the last 40 years, you know, that until just maybe last year weren't even recognized, that fought for us so that we could have a life today, so that we could bring our children up in a good way, around this Indian way. But today, like the brother says, you know, this is America. We're not only just Native Americans, you know, we're American citizens too. And as American citizens, you know, I have a vote. I have the ability to go out and make a vote. I make people realize and understand, you know, how important this is to our people. How important Leonard Peltier is to his family, you know, to his people. This morning I was out driving around out in the country, and I was looking at all the green, all the trees and the grass, all the waters out here. You know, how much I would love to see Leonard be free to be able to experience this nature, you know, because he doesn't experience that when he's locked up behind the bars in a cement room. And most of the time when they have him on lockdown, you know, and he's our elder today, you know, but we're lucky that he's still with us. But we do need to find a way to bring him home, you know, and while we do that, our people need to find a way to be connected to this Mother Earth. You know, this is our foundation, this is our way. So today, you know, I'm standing here in front of this old man right here, this Canupa, and what it represents for our people, you know, and I'll try to say something good. You know, I see it today, the way the government even treats their own people. Pretty soon there's going to be a wild, wild west right here in America, just like they're fighting in Egypt and all over the East country. It's going to be like that here. You know, if we keep being pushed, not just us, but the white people and the black people and the Oriental people and the, you know, all the people. You know, they made them all citizens of America, you know, on our Indian land that they took away from us, that they took away from our ancestors, that they still mine on today. Like today, I heard the president wants to open mining up at the Grand Canyon, the Indian land, it's a national park, you know, in America. You know, they want to start mining again when they should be thinking about green energy, you know, how to sustain our people. How are we going to sustain ourselves? You know, are we going to go back to nature and live off the land if we don't know how? How are we going to hunt, and how are we going to fish our kids if they don't know how, if we don't show them? You know, how are they gonna know to sing the songs in the ceremonies, you know, if we don't show them? We have to show them these things. And as we show them these things, this rally become bigger and become stronger again, like it was back in the early 70s. And what year was it? My father broke Leonard Peltier out of prison in Lompoc, California in 1979. He was out for 5 days, but he got caught and he got put back in. But they had a trial that lasted like 10 months down in Los Angeles. And at the end, they proved, the defense for Leonard proved that the government put a hit out on him. That they went into the prison and found an Indian man and hired him to kill Leonard Peltier. But this Indian man, when he went to meet Leonard Peltier, he fell in love with him because he was such a good man. Because he had such a good heart, you know, and he had this good spirit around him, that instead of trying to kill him, he confronted him and told him, hey, these guys want me to take you out. And from that, you know, they decided, well, we're going to have to break you out of prison. But today, all those folks that broke him out of prison are dead today, too. Bobby Garcia, the Dallas Thunder Shield. I'm not sure about Richard Stanton Elk. I haven't heard about him in a long time. My father, he's gone. And, you know, Bobby Robidoux. There's a lot of people involved in Leonard. Steve Robidoux, Chico Robidoux. And, you know, me and Sue could go on and on. But it's just today, you know, we sweat and we do things around this culture. We might powwow, we might go to ceremonies or things like that. We'll always have to remember to say a prayer for our relative, Leonard Peltier, to say a prayer for his family, you know, that doesn't get to enjoy his time and, you know, his good heart like that. And, you know, I never have a speech or anything. But what I really think, because these brothers come all the way up from down south, they brought their drum, you know, that we should have an honor song for Leonard, you know, at this time. I want to sing a song after the drum group to come up and sing a song, one more song for the people. Oh. Rock this town, as far as the mic goes. Thank you in honor of our brother Leonard Peltier and our relative, our uncle, around the country together. They kicked ass all from Alcatraz to Washington, D.C., and then came back into Wounded Knee. And, you know, throughout that time, like Chauncey said, our folks tried to keep us out of it a little bit. But, you know, at a point, there was a time when they couldn't keep us out of it. Just because of the Cultural Revolution that was taking place back in the late 60s. Because of the fight that was taking place here in our home over the fish. You know, back when it was the survival of Native Americans, or survival of American Indians, is what it started as. In Alcatraz, with people like Robert Free and Leonard and Steve Robidoux and Bobby Robidoux and Dino Butler and all these guys, you know. All these guys today, you know, some of them aren't with us today. And I was thinking, you know, what would they want me to say? Maybe say something good on their behalf. You know, on behalf of the many of our warriors that have gone on in the last 40 years. You know, that until just maybe last year weren't even recognized, that fought for us so that we could have a life today, so that we could bring our children up in a good way, around this Indian way. But today, like the brother says, you know, this is America. We're not only just Native Americans, you know, we're American citizens too. And as American citizens, you know, I have a vote. I have the ability to go out and make a vote. I make people realize and understand, you know, how important this is to our people. How important Leonard Peltier is to his family, you know, to his people. This morning I was out driving around out in the country and I was looking at all the green, all the trees and the grass, all the waters out here. You know, how much I would love to see Leonard be free to be able to experience this nature. You know, because he doesn't experience that when he's locked up behind the bars in a cement room. And most of the time when they have him on lockdown, you know, and he's our elder today, you know, but we're lucky that he's still with us. But we do need to find a way to bring him home, you know. And while we do that, our people need to find a way to be connected to this Mother Earth. You know, this is our foundation, this is our way. So today, you know, I'm standing here in front of this old man right here, this Canupa, and what it represents for our people. You know, and I'll try to say something good. You know, I see it today, the way the government even treats their own people. Pretty soon there's going to be a wild, wild west right here in America. Just like they're fighting in Egypt and all over the East country. It's going to be like that here. You know, if we keep being pushed, not just us, but the white people and the black people and the Oriental people and the, you know, all the people. You know, they made them all citizens of America, you know, on our Indian land that they took away from us, that they took away from our ancestors, that they still mine on today. Like today, I heard the president wants to open mining up at the Grand Canyon, the Indian land, it's a national park, you know, in America. You know, they want to start mining again when they should be thinking about green energy. You know, how to sustain our people. How are we going to sustain ourselves? You know, are we going to go back to nature and live off the land if we don't know how? How are we going to hunt and how are we going to fish our kids if they don't know how, if we don't show them? You know, how are they going to know to sing the songs and the ceremonies, you know, if we don't show them? We have to show them these things. And as we show them these things, this rally become bigger and become stronger again like it was back in the back in the early 70s. And what year was it? My father broke Leonard Peltier out of prison in Lompoc, California in 1979. He was out for 5 days, but he got caught and he got put back in. But they had a trial that lasted like 10 months down in Los Angeles. And at the end, they proved, the defense for Leonard proved that the government put a hit out on him. That they went into the prison and found an Indian man and hired him to kill Leonard Peltier. But this Indian man, when he went to meet Leonard Peltier, he fell in love with him because he was such a good man. Because he had such a good heart, you know, and he had this good spirit around him. That instead of trying to kill him, he confronted him and told him, hey, these guys want me to take you out. And from that, you know, they decided, well, we're going to have to break you out of prison. But today, all those folks that broke him out of prison are dead today, too. Bobby Garcia, the Dallas Thunder Shield. I'm not sure about Richard Stanton Elk. I haven't heard about him in a long time. My father, he's gone. And, you know, Bobby Robidoux. There's a lot of people involved in Leonard. Steve Robidoux, Chico Robidoux, and, you know, me and Sue could go on and on. Well, it's just today, you know, we sweat and we do things around this culture. We might powwow, we might go to ceremonies or things like that. We'll always have to remember to say a prayer for our relative, Leonard Peltier, to say a prayer for his family, you know, that doesn't get to enjoy his time and, you know, his good heart like that. And, you know, I never have a speech or anything. But what I really think, because these brothers come all the way up from down south, they brought their drum, you know, that we should have an honor song for Leonard, you know, at this time. I want to sing a song after Jen group to come up and sing a song, one more song for the people. Oh. I'll rock this town as far as the mic goes. It's a thank you in honor of our brother Leonard Peltier and our relative, our uncle.
Everybody for being here and supporting Leonard Peltier, my father. I didn't really know what to say out here today, but, you know, 46 years old, my dad's been in prison a long time for something he never committed, something he never did. As a kid, I never knew growing up, but, you know, it's all over minerals, just like Arthur says. You know, growing up out in the, I never grew up on the reservation. I grew up out in the white man's world, you know, and a lot of my friends out there are white and stuff. And they always ask me about my father, and they read up about him. And every one of them always tell me, if we were in that same situation, we'd do the same thing. Somebody came to our family, we'd do the same thing. You know, it don't matter what color you are. It's enough is enough. The man's in there for aiding and abetting. Aiding and abetting the killer. Come on. Well, isn't that a crock of shit? I mean, aiding and abetting, 34 years, you know? It's not right. Where's the justice? You know? We got a new president. He says change is nice. Well, let's have a change. Let's quit. Let's quit playing cowboys and Indians anymore. They're still trying to steal our goddamn minerals, our land. They're still pulling it on us. It ain't stopped. Anybody around that lives on the reservations, they know it. It still ain't stopped. Everybody has got to see this. It don't matter if you're white, black, whatever. We're all one. Look at 70% of the white people, everybody says they got Indian in them. We all got to stick together. And maybe they do got Indian in them. Let's stick together. We're going to be stronger as a group, powerful. Out of all these years I've seen that they're getting smaller and smaller. Everybody fighting for the natives and stuff. And it ain't just them. It don't matter if they're black or whatever. The AIM, I was 8 years old in that Indian camp. And that happened. And I don't ever remember my dad holding anybody for the color of their skin or anything. He just wanted to help the elders and help people. You know, like at the police station. He worked at a police station. He never ever told me or anything, always obeyed the law, he says. Don't, believe in law and order, chunks. And that's the way it is. If we didn't have law and order, could you imagine the massive chaos we would have? Could you imagine that? I mean, so, here he is. He's in prison for something he never did. And that ain't justice. And it's still going on. It's 2011, and there still ain't no justice, I didn't really know what to say when I got up here, but I guess I got a mouthful, I remember my dad as a kid going fishing with him. I've only met him a handful of times. I never knew him to be a bad person. Never. He never, ever taught me nothing like that, It's just enough's enough. It's 2011, and a change is supposed to be here. Let's have a change. I feel bad for the feds. But, is this really justice holding a man there that they can't actually really convict? I guess they're proud of that. They're happy with it. What do you say? Will they ever let him out? No, I don't know. We hope so. I hope to see my dad again free someday. I remember as a little kid sitting in the sweat lodge with him. I hope I can sit in the sweat lodge with him someday. The only peyote meeting I ever went to, I went with my dad. He taught me, the little time I'd known him for 8 years, when I was with him, he taught me a lot, And then he didn't want me to get involved. He was worried about it. Look where he's at. But it's a matter of all our people. We got to stick together. And I don't care what if you're Navajo or whatever or whatever. We're all natives. We all need to stick together, and that's the way it's supposed to be. What would the grandfathers say if we were down here fighting and acting like little kids? That ain't good. They'd probably be ashamed of us acting like that, And I'm just now getting back into my heritage. I was out of it for a long time, But I'm into getting more involved in stuff. But like I want to say again, it's 2011 and we're ready for a change. We got to all plan together and start fighting this whenever there is. The other day, a couple months ago, I went to a youth thing, and I was talking to this Indian guy. He's a young guy, and he told me, he said, this guy was only 22 years old. He told me, he goes back there. He goes in New Mexico or wherever he was. Told me, you're back there, and they're still trying to steal our land. I said, it's 2011. They're still going on? Yeah. He goes, they're still after our land back there. Pretty soon we won't have any land. If you ever see that big map they got that I always look at, and it says back in 1800 or whatever we had all this land, and then it goes to a little land, then it goes to a little land, then in 2015, whatever it is, the Indians have no land, and that's where it's going. They're taking all our land. This wasn't our land to sell and give. The grandfathers told us the land wasn't ours to sell. It's for everybody, for us to live on. But greed and just they took it, We weren't going to tell nobody you couldn't come here and live. You know, if we were greedy people, we would have killed them all when they showed up. Flew back on that boat, put them out there. Get out of here. You know, we weren't like that. We were all peaceful. You know, not all Indians were mean. That ain't true. You know.
I am.
You are? Well, you need to mellow out, brother. That won't get you nowhere. But anyways, I'm glad I could be here and I could speak for you guys, and I hope I can do a little better job for you next time. And thanks for supporting Leonard Peltier.